Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome to Mario Maker Mayhem. That is I, as well as the channel. But welcome to another episode of Add or Pass. Very simple series. If you've never seen it before, first of all, you're more than welcome to play along. It's very simple. So basically, add or pass. I'm going to take either an enemy, a power-up, a object, something that we don't already have in Mario Maker 2. I'm going to go over a little bit of gameplay on how the object of the day works. I will go over some pros and maybe a couple cons if I could think of whatever. And then then at the end of the video, I'll give my opinion on if I would add this enemy to Mario Maker 2 or if I would pass on them. And then you guys, that's where you can play along for free, obviously. Feel more than welcome to. Just tell me in the comments, would you add or pass this enemy, object, whatever the thing is for the day? Would you add or pass it into Mario Maker 2? And then if you have anything to add as well for whatever the object of the day is, feel free to drop a couple, if you're knowledgeable about the whatever it is, feel free. Drop whatever you got down in the comments, and should be fun stuff. So we are on episode number 3 today, which we are taking a look at the Swoops, or Swooper, if you want to go by the Super Mario World, the enemy, which they debuted there. So yeah, we're gonna jump into a little bit of gameplay again. So it'll be gameplay, couple pros, a con, and then I'll tell you what I think, and then you guys tell me as well. So yeah, let's jump into a little bit of gameplay, shall we? So for the gameplay for today's enemy in our add or pass, we have Swoops, or they were actually originally called and known as Swoopers in the Super Mario World style, which is what we have today for the gameplay. So let's unpause this. As you can see, the Swoops will come down, or Swoopers in this case, will actually come down from the ceiling. And the fun part about Swoopers is that they are bat-like enemies that hang idly upside down on top of the screen. As you can see, ow, as I get hit by a shell there. Oh, I missed my... that's okay, I don't need it. I can rewind whenever I want to. But they're such a fun enemy. We're going to go back. Hold up, there we go. But they're such a fun enemy in terms of hanging upside down, and they don't actually dive towards the player until you get close enough. So they kind of have like a... it's not like a heat-seeking aspect to them by any means, but once you get close enough, they will come down and, well, attack the player. And as I'm about to demonstrate, they only do take one hit on top of the head to knock out. So they're not that tough of an enemy to knock out, but hey, if you aren't watching out and you come into a cave-like level, such as the one we happen to be in right now, which, by the way, which is another point I'd like to bring up. Cave-like enemy, or cave-like levels with a more authentic feel to it, with like more authentic type of enemies, such as bats. And if you think of caves, and you think of creatures that live in caves, bats are going to be towards the top of the list that you're going to think of. So having another realistic, which I think is a pro that I'll bring up in just a little bit as well, but having an actual enemy that really seems to fit the style, which I think is something really big that Mario Maker could improve, leaps and bounds upon. Not saying that it's bad by any means right now, but having a more realistic kind of feel to levels for different enemies and whatever, I think it's just kind of a big pro. So overall, the enemy, Swoopers, Swoops, whatever you want to call them. Oh, we died. Let's go back. We never died. Ha, didn't happen. But having these Swoops in the game would absolutely be fun. Have a unique enemy, and that's another point that I'll bring up in the pros as well. We don't have a lot of actual just normal flying enemies. Sure, you can throw wings onto like anything and turn them into a flying enemy, but how about this? Throwing something that actually flies, something that comes from above. Look, we have a lot of ground enemies in the game, which there's nothing wrong with by any means. But, give us a bit more diverse, a bit more unique sort of moveset. There we go. We can take them out with the Fire Flower as well. Demonstrated. Easy. But there's just so much to this enemy. Okay, maybe not a ton, but they're a lot more unique than your basic Koopa on the ground, Goomba on the ground. They're a bit more. You're going to have to watch out for whatever might come from above you. And that's like an aspect that... Sure, some people might throw in like random thwomps up above you and they'll just catch you off guard. But like having an actual enemy that really feels like they belong in a certain place for a level, I think that kind of helps Swoop in a way as well. And plus, once I get to the other facts, or pros I should say, there's a few more points I want to make about it. But hey, Here's just how the swoops work. Pop them on the head real quick. That's how you take them out. Easy stuff as I get smushed by the side-scrolling screen. But hey, it is what it is. Swoops are a fun enemy, and they are pretty common. So let's jump into a couple pros and some cons, shall we? All right, let's start off with pro number 1. Now, I think this is always a pro for like any item, object, enemy, whatever. I think it's always got to be a pro. But basically, so swoopers, or swoops as they're probably more referred to, but they're a very common enemy in the Mario universe. They have appeared in many mainstream Mario games, as well as quite a few of the spin-off games as well. So, for example, a few of the games that they have appeared in: Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. We have Super Mario 64, which was the Nintendo 64, as well as the Nintendo DS remake they appeared in. We have New Super Mario Bros. U, and most recently they were, if I'm not mistaken, they were actually in Super Mario Run, the mobile game as well. So they've already appeared, the pro that I'm trying to get to is they've already appeared in so many different styles of Mario. And I think if you appear in many different styles of Mario, not only will you be more recognizable as an enemy and, I'm not going to say a fan favorite, but just more people will know what the enemy is and what the enemy should do. So right there, just being in many different styles, to me, that's a pro. So if it's like something obscure that maybe appeared once or twice, it's kind of like, all right, not many people are going to know what this is or how it works and whatever. So more eyes on the enemy, and like I said, it is a very common enemy. It's been in numerous Mario games, mainstream and spin-off, so kind of fun stuff there. But yeah, pro number 1, to sum it up, it's appeared in many styles, so I guess that's just the pro. Pro number 2, however, swoops would actually be a very good addition, a great addition, in terms of giving the player more of a, more flying enemies. And I know, you're going to say, well, pretty much every enemy could be flying. Yeah, sure, you could throw the wings on it, but I mean more traditional, actual flying enemies. Sure, we have a few of them, like you got your Lakitu up in the cloud, I suppose you could say that. But like, I mean actual enemies that fly around. And as an example, I think I showed in the gameplay already how it works. Comes down from the ceiling. So it's like an enemy that's above you and you have to worry about. Like, we have a lot of enemies that are on the ground, right? And there's nothing wrong with that by any means. But I'm just saying, a bit more diverseness to the enemies, to how the level could play out would be very, very extremely fun in my opinion. So adding more enemies that, you got to watch out, that are threats from the sky. So I think that's kind of a pro. Plus, this is kind of another thing I hear a lot of people talking about. Think of cave or underground levels, for example. They can have a bit more of a realistic sort of feel to the levels. Same way that we have we got the desert level this time in Mario Maker. And we finally have Pokies. Cactuses just give you that realistic kind of feel for desert levels. And what enemy, what creature do you think of? If you think of caves and you think of creatures that live in there, odds are, what's the first enemy? What's the first thing you're going to think of that lives in caves? It's going to be bats. So kind of giving it a more realistic feel. I think that's got to be kind of a pro in my opinion as well. So I mean, that's why I put it as pro number 2, right? So no more pros. I do have a con. So let's talk about the con, shall we? Now, con number 1, and the only one I have. Now, swoops aren't exactly a popular request when it comes to enemies that the fan base wants to see in Mario Maker 2. Now, I'm not saying it's not a popular enemy by any means. Like, swoop is, like I stated in a couple of the pros, they've been in numerous different styles, numerous different mainstream and spin-off games for Mario. So it's not like it's an obscure random enemy that nobody remembers or ever heard of. That's not the case. But when you think of enemies and just other features that are requested for Mario Maker 2, just an example, like even before the update that we got at the beginning of December, Charge and Chuck was up there, Pokies were up there, Spikes were up there, the enemy obviously Spike. There's a lot of enemies that we want to see. We want to see, Boomerang Bro, Fire Bro, and all styles. That's what we want to see. And I think with in regards to that, we want to see popular enemies, and the point I'm trying to make, I suppose, is since Swooper doesn't appear to be one of the more requested enemies that the fan base wants to see in Mario Maker. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't have any fans out there not supporting to this enemy to see them in Mario Maker. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's not one of the most requested. And I think when it comes to the developers for Mario Maker 2, I think they do want to focus on the more popular requests, the more popular whatever it is that they want to really please the fans. So like, hey, Pokey was one of the most requested. Spike was up there as well. And I think that's kind of the direction they might focus on. So, you know, fingers crossed for some of the more popular ones. Maybe Charge and Chuck comes to mind, just saying. But there's a lot you can take from this. But I don't know. I guess the big con obviously has to be, since they're not really requested, are they going to be at the top of the developers' minds to be like, all right, what else can we throw into the game as a new enemy power-up item, obstacle, whatever it might be. I don't think swoopers are going to really come to mind for a lot of people, but you never know. The developers could always kind of throw us a little bit of a curveball in this case and say, surprise, here's this enemy. We want to put this enemy in the game, so here you go. Enjoy it. And if that happens, thumbs up. I'm ready for it. Let's see it happen. Now, as for me, I would absolutely add this enemy because I just feel you could do quite a bit of unique stuff. You can make very unique levels for this enemy. I really like the flying aspect, right? Because like you focus on levels that you play all the time, and you're like, all right, what enemy's coming directly in front of me next? Not a lot of people, unless you're playing troll levels, you're not going to really be thinking, all right, what enemy's going to be coming from above? That's not something you really think of, is it? You just focus on what's ahead of you on the screen, what enemies are there, how do you get rid of them? Well, now you throw in the little added effect of, oh crap, there's an enemy coming from above that actually will fly down and dive towards me. Okay, gives it a little bit different kind of feel to it. So for me, I would add this enemy, but it's kind of a low add for me. It's not at the top of my list. It's not at the middle of the list. It would definitely be on the lower part of my list of things I want to see added into Mario Maker 2. All right, so after all of that, you can see I would add this enemy to the game. I think they're unique enough to where they would warrant, a spot in Mario Maker 2. I mean, look, it is Mario Maker after all, right? And over a couple of the pros I went over, some of the gameplay. Unique enemy, flying. We don't have like a lot of traditional flying enemies. We do have some, yes, but another flying type enemy you got to watch out for overhead, which would make for quite a bit more fun for the character or the enemy in this case. I just feel like there's a lot you could do with the enemy. Make platforming levels. I don't know if I went over that, but platforming levels. So think of it like swoops. Like you're in a cave, for example, right? You don't have any platform below you. So like you'll have like your starting platform, but then you'll have no platform. So basically, swoops will have to come down, and you'll have to like jump on top of the swoops to make it to the next platform. Maybe get a red coin. So a platforming kind of level with swoops would be pretty interesting and pretty enjoyable in my honest opinion. But yeah, for me, I would definitely add swoop to the game. Not an enemy that I'm very high on by any means, but it's still an enemy that I think you could have a lot of. You could do some really creative stuff with the enemy. So yeah, for me, it's an add. So let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments. Either add or pass. And yeah, that is going to be it. Again, if you have any suggestions for future enemies, objects, power-ups, whatever, feel free to drop them in the comment section. I'll do my best to get to them. I'm going to tell you right now, I probably won't be able to get to everything, but I will do my best to get to what I can. And yeah, anyway, that is going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and remember, this is Mario Maker Mayhem.